greetings, everyone. It is, yes, and I know you guys know I say it every time, and it's the new year, and I'm going to continue to say it. It is my favorite time of the month because it is time for being Brown at Work Live. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. We are in a new year, and I am all about new beginnings, excited about what is ahead and taking some lessons and things from 2024. I know those of you may have seen some posts I put out there. 2024 was that kind of year for me, but we are forward. We're looking ahead, and I'm so excited about the potential for 2025. And as I always am on the first and third Tuesdays, so honored and excited to have fabulous women join me as guests. And here is a new one that none of you have met, but you're going to see her quite often after this. I have absolutely no doubt. So we're going to jump right into this. I'm going to introduce you all to Danielle Fairbairn. Danielle Fairbairn is a seasoned interview coach. And I know you guys are already wondering, Linda, interview? Really? Yes. Yes. And you'll understand why. Seasoned interview coach, published author, keynote speaker, and facilitator dedicated to empowering individuals to excel in job interview readiness. With a career grounded in transforming aspirations into achievements, Daniela has helped countless clients build the confidence and clarity needed to succeed in competitive professional landscapes. Her unique methodology blends confidence building techniques with strategic goal setting, creating a comprehensive approach to interview preparation. Daniela understands that a successful interview is not just about answering questions. Note that it's not just about answering questions, but about showcasing authenticity, purpose, and alignment with one's professional goals. She equips her clients with practical tools to navigate even the most challenging interview scenarios, ensuring they present their best selves. As a published author, Daniela shares her expertise through insightful writings that inspire and guide readers on their career journeys. Her work resonates with individuals seeking actionable advice to boost their confidence and achieve meaningful career progress. A dynamic keynote speaker and skilled facilitator, Daniela captivates audiences with her engaging storytelling and actionable insights. Whether addressing large conferences or leading intimate workshops, she fosters a motivating and supportive environment that encourages personal and professional growth. Daniela's passion for helping others reach their potential is driving force behind her work. Her commitment to uplifting her clients and audiences has solidified her reputation as a trusted expert in job interview readiness and career empowerment. Welcome, Daniela Fairbairn, to Being Brown at Work Live.
Thank you,
Yes.
Linda. Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's an honor, Daniela. I mean, the honor is all mine. I know when we met, we talked about this sometime last year, I think it
Mhm.
was, and had most of the year booked out, which is I when we talked then I said, no, January has got to be the time to have you on as people are looking in their rearview mirror, doing some goal setting, which might include job interviews. Your expertise is so sorely needed. But as I said earlier, when I first opened, Daniela, some people are probably wondering, why talk about interview prep? I mean, they're probably saying themselves or even saying in the virtual camera as they're watching me, Linda, I've been doing this for years. I know how to interview. Mm.
I agree, Linda. And I'll definitely, on that note, I want to share that because we are in the time of COVID, things have turned upside down. It's not the same time that we're in. And so we're going through a different type of process where a number of people are looking for employment. And so it's extremely competitive. What will help set you apart is that interview once you get to
Mm.
that point, because you never have a second opportunity of making a first impression. That's an excellent,
Oh,
right?
oh my gosh.
So
Okay, hold on with that. That was so beautiful. You never have a second opportunity to make a first impression. Oh my gosh, I
that's it.
love that. You're
That
absolutely
is it.
correct.
That is it.
Yes.
And because we have to just think about that and just sit in it for a moment, it's like
Mm.
seeing someone for the first time. It's like you're looking at someone walking down the street, you're like, I don't know. I don't know. And then when you have a conversation with them, you realize that they're the best thing since sliced bread, right? But
Right?
that was you having a conversation with them. Based on that visual, you may not have been um, turned on. You may not have been excited about talking to that person, but
Yes,
it was about sitting down with them that got the juices flowing, right? So
absolutely.
why not be able to do that for the person that you're sitting across from or the person that you're in a virtual interview with, right? You want to be
Yep.
able to have that engaging conversation. It's so important. And I think that we take that for granted oftentimes. Your resume may be chef's kiss, but once you get in front of the interviewer, you have to sell yourself. And so, how are you going to sell yourself? By making the best first impression.
Oh
And
my
that's what
gosh,
you do it.
Daniela. I mean, everything you said in your opening statement is so spot on. And the reason why this conversation is important, the
Mhm.
reason why people need to do this work,
Yes.
the same type of work they do when they, get a certification or when they
Right.
go get a degree, right? I
Mhm.
mean, this type of preparation is so important. And I love that analogy that you gave of seeing somebody walk down the street and you're like,
Mm.
no, no,
Nah.
right. Because
Next.
because people do right. No,
Right.
next.
Right.
Or across the street, right?
Exactly.
So, exactly. So and people make that same, it's unfortunate, but it happens,
It
right?
happens. It
Those
happens.
same perceived thoughts in their head when they
Yes.
see you
Right.
before they talk to you.
Right.
So Daniela, let's dig and peel back on that a little bit more.
Okay.
You've been doing this for quite some time and served numerous clients. Have you found individuals that, um, for lack of better term, still don't get it? They don't understand the
Mhm.
connection from interview readiness to interview success.
That is correct. That is correct. So there are people who are qualified for the job, but they do not get the job because um, they don't have that energy, right? That vibe is not there. So
Mm,
they may be ready for the interview, but once they get there, total different animal, right? And so
wow.
that's why it's really important to have the mock interview sessions so that you yourself are prepared for those awkward moments and that you're able to engage with someone. I mentioned COVID before because that's our new reality. And
It is.
for the virtual interviews, people have forgotten that it's okay to come professionally dressed on video. It's okay to present your best selves. It's okay to not be in a bathroom and be on the interview, right? These are things that people forget. So when they come in person, they dress casually. And it's like, but if you're not putting the time to
Mm.
present your best self for me for an interview, what does that mean? What does that speak to your character?
Oh,
It speaks volumes
wow.
to your character, you know?
Oh, absolutely, Daniela. Can you give some examples of maybe, some of the things you've come across where you've had to help your clients overcome?
Sure, sure. So one of the first things that come to mind is do not research for the interview. So
Mm.
they know that they really want this job. They know that they're the best candidate out there, but they're not doing their research. So I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah, and if you could explain what you mean by research. Go ahead.
Yes.
Mhm.
So there's a company you would love to work for. And with this particular company, they have a website. Everything is at your fingertips. You're able to also just look out for some testimonials online. And you can also look up things on YouTube, right, about working with this particular company. But
Sure.
for some reason, you may not. And when you go for the interview, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. I can just show up and they'll love me. No, do your research because when that question comes up, what do you know about us? Tell us more about our company. And then you'll be stunned, right? So you never want to not do your
Mm.
research.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Because it shows that you're putting in the preparation. How you appear, how you speak, how you know about the company speaks of what can actually happen once you get there. If you're not taking that time before the interview, what would that mean on your first day? What would that mean during your introductory period? And by introductory period, I'm referring to your probationary period, right? So within that first 90 days, how are you going to knock their socks off? Are you planning to just sit there and not do the work? Or are you going to hit the ground running and know that you are the best person for this job? And you're going to show them from day one that they made the best decision possible, right? So
Yes,
you
got it.
always want to make
Got
sure
it.
you do your research. Do not do your research,
Do
right?
not do your research.
Exactly.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
another thing I want to share is do not dress appropriately for the job. So for instance,
Okay,
you are
dress appropriately. Now
right.
that, there's a lot of definitions to that, Daniela.
Exactly. Can you imagine interviewing someone, Linda, for a role that you have, and the person shows up in a collared shirt that's clearly wrinkled. They're in their restroom, so you can tell like someone's sitting on their tub, or
Oh
someone
my
shows up with a
gosh.
wrinkled t-shirt, and in the background is their bedroom, and in their bedroom, their bed is not made. Can you imagine someone showing
Oh,
up in their car, right? And it looks all kind of crazy in their car, right? This is the reality, or show up to a job with a crop top, a pair of sweats and sneakers. It's like,
oh,
why
okay.
would you ever want to do that? Why? I know that things are different. It's not like how it was 5 years ago, technically,
Right,
right? And so
right.
it doesn't mean that you should not be prepared. So you want to never not dress appropriately for the job.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in particular, because
Yes.
I'm sure, Daniela, as a Black woman, you've heard
Yes.
about, the stress and the burden
Mhm.
that some of us have going into the office
Mhm.
and working virtually and not turning the cameras on
Yes.
gave us a sense of, oh my gosh, I can exhale now. I can
Yes.
really do the work. One, I'm not getting microaggressed because I'm not physically there. And then two, I don't turn my camera on because I may not have the best, apartment or the best whatever.
Right.
And I'm going to turn it over to you as an expert, but I would even say you don't need the best apartment, the most fancy apartment with high end artwork on the wall to still present yourself well, correct?
Right.
You don't need that.
No. So we oftentimes hear the joke where you're professional on top and party on the bottom, right? So we get that.
Yeah.
There are also virtual backgrounds that you can use where you may not like what's happening in the back, but because there is a virtual background, you're able to have that appearance, a facade that things look
Yes.
different, right? And so you
Yes.
have options. That's the reason why they're virtual backgrounds and the reason they're so popular. And it makes complete sense. So I do think that the reality is that working from home um, enables you to be at arm's length. It enables you to not be in the fold and to exhale. You're definitely right with that, Linda. But when you return back to the office, when or if you never had the opportunity of working from home, I do think that we have to think about the
Yeah.
importance of presenting your best self and just knowing that
Yes.
self-care is important. So it's a balance. And I am not the poster child for self-care. I have to tell you, right? I'm a work in progress, but I do think that we have to take the opportunity to know that this is a job, and regardless of what, we have to make sure that we're able to um, be at our best, and
Yes.
sometimes it's just faking the funk. That's really what it is,
Yeah.
Linda, right? So,
Wow. Wow. Wow.
yeah.
And so, what I love about, when I was reading your bio and the work that you do in that one line, that's why I reiterated it, because it's not just about answering questions, right?
Yes.
But it's about showcase authenticity, purpose, and alignment to your professional goals. Daniela, have you experienced or worked with someone who's been very challenged in doing that in their interview prep? And maybe share with the audience what can happen when you're not authentic, when you don't connect to purpose, when you don't have an alignment with what your career goals are. What could be the result of that?
I think you're setting yourself up for disaster, to be perfectly honest.
Mm,
We can play pretend very, very well, but if you're not aligned with how you feel on the inside, it can really just, it comes out eventually. What's in the dark will come to light, you
it,
know?
yeah, oh my
And
gosh, so true.
yes. So there are those who are reserved during the interview. Nothing is wrong with being reserved if that's your nature, but you have to also understand this person doesn't know you from a can of paint. And for that reason, you have to be able to connect with that person. It's all about connection. It's about connection, it's about having a conversation. So I do think that if the conversation were to flow, but I also know there are different types of interview styles. There's some people who are very interrogative, there's some people who are
Hmm.
conversational. I lean on the side of conversational because it then lifts the pressure in that
Hmm.
you're able to go back and forth, and there may be some questions that you can maybe just put on the side or just put them in the parking lot for a second and say, I'd like to get back to that question. And it's no pressure, right? And there's some
Right.
interviews that may feel like a police investigation. Literally, you
Mm.
are in that room and they're drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling. And so
Yes.
based on that interaction with that interviewer, you would know, your gut will let you know whether or not this is a company you want to be with. Because if you think about it, if you yourself are uncomfortable in the interview, it's like, what else would I be uncomfortable with beyond step number one?
Wow.
Okay. So it's you
Whoa.
interviewing them, interviewing you, but you also interviewing them. It's mutual. They don't have to feel that
Yes.
way, but I think it's also something we have to keep in mind. If your gut is letting you know this is not the one, if your gut is telling you this is not the place where I want to be, I don't like this panel style interview, I don't like this one on one interview, then you're not going to go with it. You're not going to go with it. Right.
Mm.
So,
Danielle, I think that's so critical. And I think it's so important because a lot of times we think it's a one-way street, it's a one-way
yeah,
conversation, right?
right,
I'm there to get the job. I'm there to sell myself. I'm there to make a good impression. I'm there for
exactly.
them to like me and choose me. But I
Right,
think what you just shared is so critically important. It
right.
needs to be both way. It's a
Yes,
two-way street.
yes. It's a two-way street. It is. It is. And
Yes.
that's why you are prepared for the interview. One of the other things I wanted to share with you, Linda, and the audience is that you never want to not update your resume. That's a big one. So
Okay.
you have a resume, you know you're the best fit for the job, but your resume doesn't reflect your most recent experience or the experience is not applicable to the job, then why are you presenting that resume? So you want to make sure that you update your resume. So I'm using double negatives. Do not update your resume, right? Do
Right, right.
not be professional during the interview, and do not make a good first impression. It's all tied together, and we don't want
By
to take it
doing the
for granted.
research,
Doing
right.
the research, you got to do the research. You have to make a good first impression. You have to be professional, and you have to also be able to have an updated resume. It shouldn't be back and forth with the interviewer where you are saying, "Oh, that's not up to date. Oh, I entered the wrong month. Oh, I don't have the year." That's
Ah,
their
yes.
confusion. You want to make it as seamless as possible. An interview in itself can be very anxiety provoking. And
Oh,
why I'm
sure.
looking more of that when you're not prepared, where you don't have the best resume, where you do not have the best first impression, there's no need for the extra stress. Just come prepared.
Just come
No,
totally prepared.
come prepared.
So, Danielle, I'm going to ask you to give some examples of what is not professional
Okay.
in an interview, because we have
It's
this
subjective.
thing, right? So, give some
Right.
examples of what is not being professional.
Mm, not being professional is having your phone on during the interview and texting during the interview. That is
Oh, come on.
not,
Okay, now nobody does that.
Linda,
Who?
Linda,
What?
Linda, you will be surprised. We're so
What?
used to having our phones that is just a regular thing. So your phone is next to you during the interview. It's like, but why is your phone face up? Why is it face down? Just put away, just put your phone away. Just put your phone away.
Wow.
Right?
See, I would not have even thought that people would take their phones in an interview. It just didn't occur to
Yes.
me.
That
But
is exactly it. That is it.
okay.
That is it.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
Another example is being tardy. The interview is at 1 o'clock. It's okay to arrive at 12:45. It's fine. Arriving an hour or two before may be a red flag. That has happened where people show up a couple of hours before the interview because they want to be extra prepared to be early. But it's like, wait a minute, I know I was prepared. The
Whoa.
interview is at 12 noon, so why are they here at 10 a.m.? Right? So it's like, okay,
Right.
when you are going on the interview, your whole family should not be coming with you on the interview. It is funny, but it is true.
Okay, I'm sorry, Daniela. Okay, the phone got me, but now wait. Bringing people with you
Bringing people with you. So you're
that are
walking,
sitting in the lobby waiting. Oh, stop
sit
it.
in the lobby waiting. So it's like, oh, okay. So you're bringing not one person, but two? Okay. We have to understand that people may not have childcare available. That's a possibility, right?
It's
There's a possibility an
possible,
emergency
yes.
may have happened. That's a possibility. But it's like, okay, all right. That also may be a red flag. It may not be for some, but it may
Mm,
be for others, right?
yes. So we
Um,
have to be cognizant of it. Yes.
cognizant of that, and
Yeah.
that's part of the professionalism, right? So you have to keep in mind the interviewer does not know you from a can of paint. I can't stress that enough. And so what
Right.
you're doing on day one, they're thinking may happen in the future, right? So, and it happens. There are
Yes.
people who are tardy for the interview and it continues throughout their employment. And you're like, well, why are they always late? But this is what they were on day one.
Day
That's what they were.
one.
You know, they will have excuses. Oh, the Uber to the wrong way. The Uber to the wrong way. Okay, anything is possible. You know, there was an accident on the road. Okay, anything is possible, but it can't happen once a week every time you're working, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You need to allow them time
Exactly.
to get to work on time. That is it. Another
Wow.
way of not uh, being professional, right, for the interview would also be ghosting the interviewer. Ghosting.
Wait.
So
Wait. Usually that happens the other way
the
around.
other
The
way,
interviewee gets ghosted. But
exactly.
you're saying
So,
you.
right, you confirm, you have a good conversation. So there's screening involved, right? There's like a
Yeah.
pre-game phone interview. You confirm
Right.
for in person and just never show up. Never show up. So it
Whoa.
happens. So you have to also keep in mind that is an extreme red flag. When you do not show up for that job, there is no contact made. It's like, what is really happening, right? Why are you just ghosting the interviewer?
Wow.
I mean, there may very well be a valid excuse, but that in itself would be a turnoff, and people may not be inclined to even reschedule you because you chose not to
Yes.
call and do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you just chose just to be radio silent and ghost. Don't send
right.
an email, don't call, don't nothing.
Nothing,
Wow.
nothing. Something else that comes to mind of not being professional would be calling to reschedule, reaching out to the interviewer, which is great. You gave notice. I have to reschedule a family emergency.
Yeah.
And then you attempt to reschedule again because you still have a family emergency. So it's like, okay, so the family emergency happened the first time, rescheduled, and then it's happening again. Like what's really going on with your life that you're not able to get to the interview,
Mm,
right? But again,
mm,
this is
mhm.
all keeping in mind that there are people who do not give grace. There are people who
Yes.
be
Yes.
able to just say, listen, if you don't show up how I think you show up, I'm not going to even entertain the thought
Yeah.
of interviewing you, right? There are people who
Yes.
just cut short the interview really, really quickly. Really quickly. Can you imagine, Linda, traveling on the train for over 2 hours to get to an interview? And when you get there, the interviewer doesn't seem like the warmest person. Fine. Maybe they're having a bad day. And while they are interviewing you, within the first 5 minutes, they'll let you know, I don't think you're the best fit for this interview, for this job. Linda, that happened to me. And that
Wow.
ripped me into pieces because I knew that I took over 2 hours. I was living in New York at the time. I was traveling from Brooklyn to the Bronx to the interview. So, it's quite a trek. 2 hours on the train is quite a trek,
Yes.
okay? And so you are hustling to get to the interview. It's a summertime, you're grinding, you're hitting the pavement, okay? And when you show up
Wow.
within minutes, the interviewer says, I don't think you're the best fit for this role. So you're caught like a deer in headlights because you're just thinking, wow, I took my time
Yep.
to prepare. I
Yep.
took my time to get here.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
took but a blink of an eye for you to make a decision for me to now go back. So it's 4 hours round trip for 5 minutes
Mm.
of conversation, right? So um, those are some of the
Wow.
ways that come to mind when I think of professionalism and what that would mean.
Yes, no, that those were awesome examples, Daniela, and that's why we wanted to take everyone that's listening to this live, and if you're hearing it on the replay, this is why in this first session we really wanted to give you the clarity around why we're even talking about this subject.
Mhm.
Because you may think interview preparation is so old school, everybody should know how to do it by now, and it's not. And I think Daniela, especially with COVID, like Daniela shared with us, it is there's a new normal. I mean, things are just different
Mhm.
than they were before 2020, and so that's why this is so critically important. And then we also know about all the well, I'll just put it this way because she put it so nicely. Not everybody gives grace.
Yes.
Not everybody gives grace, right? And
Mhm.
so when they see an individual and they make these preconceived notions, we want to change those, shift those paradigms, those preconceived notions, which is why preparation is so important,
Mhm.
so important. So if you catching this on the replay, take your notes now because you're definitely going to want to join us in 2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks, Danielle is going to come back with actionable steps on how you can avoid pitfalls of interviews, how you can avoid not being considered, not getting to that next round, being not being professional, not doing all those things that she said not to do. She's going to give you tips on how to do them in the best way because research isn't just research. And preparing for an interview isn't just like she said, earlier, I read in her bio, not just answering questions. So please join us in a couple of weeks because you're going to get some really good nuggets. They're going to be transformational. Even if you're not in a job search right now, you could easily be in the future. You could be passively recruited away and still
Mhm.
have to go through
Mhm.
the interview process. You'll need these tools that Daniela is going to give. Daniela, this first session has been phenomenal. I knew it would be. 30 minutes has just blown by like crazy.
Tell
I
me
knew
about
that
it.
was going to be. I know, it just went by like crazy. I'm so excited for us to get back together for part two. And
Mhm.
I don't know, did you have any closing remarks? If not, we are going to end it and leave them waiting with their, bated breath for the session in a couple of weeks. If you had anything you wanted to close with, you're welcome to do so.
What I want to close with is something I mentioned earlier, and I want to place an emphasis on it.
Mm,
You may never have a second opportunity to make that right first impression.
perfect closure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Until
Thank
next time.
you.